For more, let's welcome in Louisiana Congressman, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Good morning to you. Leader, what do you see as the major risks right now if this drags on much longer?
Well, good morning. And there's a number of risks. There's already a lot of problems that Democrats have caused by shutting the government down. You know, the most immediate was that you have federal workers, including our men and women in uniform, that started working without pay. Some of them were getting partial pay, but not their full pay. You know, their bills were still due fully. They still had the rent and the car notes and all of that was due. And so that was already disruptive. And then you saw even more problems, the SNAP benefits, the women, infant, and children payments that were not going out to those low-income families. These are millions. I'm talking over 42 million people that are put in a really, really horrible position just so that Democrats can have a tantrum because Donald Trump won the presidency. And you know, whatever Chuck Schumer thinks the election Tuesday night had to do with anything, I mean, blue states voted blue. Well, what's the shocker there? New York elected a socialist as the leader of their party, and Chuck Schumer's in the fetal position, scared to death of Mondami. That's the real problem, is that Schumer can't make a move without clearing it now with the socialist in New York. And that's what's holding this government hostage. That's what's holding American families hostage, and I think people are sick by it.
Absolutely. So, Leader, we're now only 11 days away from the deadline in the original CR that the Republicans have already passed that would open the government. So if Democrats voted on it today, they won't. But if they did, we're here again in 2 weeks, the government's closing. Does that date need to be pushed back so Congress can get the job done once it reopens?
Yes, it does. And in fact, Senator Thune, the majority leader, has said if they ultimately get to a place, and at some point Democrats will come to their senses, despite their best intentions, you know, they'll ultimately get over it. 5 Democrats is all you need to open the government up. And when they do that, they will amend the date to move it to some later date, hopefully late January, give us more time to go negotiate our differences. Again, this continuing resolution is just a bill that keeps government funded at current levels that Chuck Schumer himself has voted for multiple times. So this bill doesn't resolve our differences, for example, on health care, on tax policy, on border policy, on so many other things. We need more time to negotiate those differences, but don't hold the American people hostage in the meantime. That's what Democrats have been doing. And Democrats admit they're causing suffering for families, and they can't even tell you what they want. You know, they're just beating their chest because, gee whiz, New York elected a socialist mayor and New Jersey elected a Democrat governor. What did you think was going to happen? That's no victory. You're hurting American people. You're hurting our men and women in uniform who aren't getting paid. You just saw it, a 10% reduction in air traffic right before Thanksgiving when families are going to be going to see their relatives. Many of them are not going to be able to do that now because why? Chuck Schumer is afraid of the socialist wing of his party? You know, talk about a profile in courage, for goodness sake.
And you bring up such a good point when you say Democrats really shouldn't be taking the victory lap that they're taking because, again, this was predictable, right? Democrats won in blue cities, in blue states. But how do you think Republicans can turn things around to make sure they win when they need to next year when it counts in the midterms?
Well, I think the most important thing that we've been doing when we won the majority last year, House, Senate, and of course, President Trump in the White House, we ran on very specific things. We said that we would focus on getting the economy back on track, reversing the damage of Joe Biden, you know, get energy prices under control. We've done that. We said we'd secure the border. That was the #1 issue in America. President Trump, day one, went to work securing the border, and now it is secure. You know, and that's another issue that we've solved. We've worked with President Trump over and over again to deliver for American families, hardworking families. And what have Democrats done? They've obstructed every step of the way. They voted to raise taxes. They voted against border security. They voted against energy security. All they're doing, and they shut the government down a record 37 days. Is that something that they can go to the voters and brag about? While, oh, by the way, everything they do, they've got to now go check with a socialist in New York because he's the head of their party now.
Yeah, Leader, real quickly before we go, I want to ask you about one of the results from the 2025 off-year election, the Attorney General's race in Virginia, where a Democrat who actually wished political violence on his opponent and his children was actually elected. It wasn't disqualifying. Of course, we almost lost you to political violence a few years ago. And I just wanted to get your take real quickly, 30 seconds or so, on the outcome of this election and what it says about our politics right now.
Yeah, I think that was the most disappointing result of all, is that, this was an easy one where voters can just say, look, yeah, might be Republican, might be Democrat, but can we at least not elect the guy who said he wants to kill not just his political opposition, he wanted to kill the children of his political opponent. I mean, this guy should have been disqualified from office. Every law enforcement group in Virginia said he's not fit for office. He's going to be the attorney general. It's sad that that's the best the Democrats had to offer. Their party's a rudderless ship right now. They really are void of alternatives and ideas. They don't care about the American people. They're proving it with the shutdown. It's why we're going to win more seats next year.
Leader Scalise, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.